Today marks the fourth Sunday in Lent, so if you've given up chocolate or wine or watching TV, you're a little more than halfway through. Watching TV is something my husband Pete likes to give up for Lent every year, and I secretly love it. It gives us more time to talk, to read, to play with our pets. It also gives us a break from the barrage of negative, fear-inducing stories we see on TV that often start and end our days. It's easy to think of a few examples: rising prices, racial injustice and killings, the invasion of Ukraine, wildfires made worse by climate change, and of course, the pandemic. These stories can make us scared and lonely, tired and nervous. They can make us feel like fear has become a constant drumbeat in the rhythm of our lives. The characters in today's gospel reading also know about fear. That's no surprise. John's gospel was written in the late first century to Christians who were painfully separating from Jewish society. Threatened with punishment, some Christians were emboldened, while others practiced their Christianity in secret. They all probably, however, felt some degree of fear, and John's gospel was meant to reassure them during this challenging time. Last week, we heard that Jesus had no fear of breaking society's rules when he talked to a Samaritan, and a woman at that, by the well. Today he violates rules again by healing a man on the Sabbath. When Jesus and his disciples come across this blind man on the road, his disciples immediately assume that the man or his parents must have sinned. Someone must have done something wrong for this man to suffer. But Jesus tells them to focus on something else. Instead, he says the man was born blind so that God's works might be revealed in him. Jesus doesn't want to focus on this man's failings, whatever they are. He wants to focus on the saving grace and healing that only God can provide. So he spits on the ground, makes mud with his saliva, wipes the man's eyes, and tells him to wash his face in the pool of Siloam. The blind man could easily have responded to Jesus in fear. After all, he couldn't see what Jesus was doing. Instead, he let Jesus touch him and immediately gained his sight. He let Jesus restore him and make him whole. He let himself choose faith over fear. How often do we let our fears get the better of us? Think of the simple example of being by yourself at night when you hear a strange noise in the house. Rationally, you may know it's just an old floorboard creaking or the house foundation settling, but give fear enough space and time, and all of a sudden it's a character from Scream or The Walking Dead coming after you. Fear finds something important to us and latches onto it. The more we listen to fear, the more it grows. It sounds totally convincing, loves to collect friends, makes itself at home in us, and can be really hard to get rid of. Whether they are big picture fears like those I described earlier, or smaller, more personal, everyday fears, our fears tell us all of the ways the world is ready to disappoint us and all of the ways we fall short. We have fears of missing out or not fitting in, fears of angering or disappointing others, fears of not having enough, or doing enough, or being enough. These are the fears that keep us up in the middle of the night, or that nag at us throughout the day. They're the fears we don't talk about or even acknowledge sometimes to ourselves. They gnaw at our sense of goodness, our worth, our ability to be loved. If we only listen to this drumbeat of fear, we will miss out on the notes of hope, of promise, of possibility that God provides. We will remain in the dark. We will miss the awe-inspiring, brightly colored wonder that God has put into the world, into our lives, and into ourselves. Think about a fear in your life. Go ahead and close your eyes. I'll give you a minute. Is there someone you take care of who you worry will injure themselves? Is there something going on at work that makes you scared you'll lose your job? Is there a relationship in your life that has fractured and you're worried is beyond repair? Is there something else that is causing you to feel afraid right now? Now think about Jesus taking your hand and your face gently and lovingly in his hands, like he did with the blind man. Imagine him touching your eyes and wiping away some of the hurt and worry and anxiety. Rest in God's loving presence. Know that whatever your fear is, God is with you. Now open your eyes. When we choose faith over fear, we find Jesus waiting for us, ready to take the dust of our lives and use it to create a soothing balm. When we choose faith over fear, we find the Spirit eager to work within us and help us to see things with new eyes. When we choose faith over fear, we find God, and our healing can begin. I want to close with the words of Thomas Merton. He wrote, "I will not fear, for you are ever with me, and you will never leave me to face my perils alone." In our world and in our lives, there will always be something to be afraid of. But even in, especially in, our times of fear, God never abandons us. God never leaves us to face our fears alone. God never loses his desire to help us heal and restore us to wholeness. What good news!